So, this year was my first year growing a particularly large dye garden, and it was a lot of fun. It was my first year really getting some larger harvests in, and a big part of that was building a couple of beds in my back parking pad this past year. Uh, or I guess the fall previous. I built them so that in the spring I would be able to just get things going. And, here in the middle of the prairies in Canada, we've got a very short growing season. And for the 3 years previous to this year, we've had actually 3 years of drought. And then this year, it's like all of the precipitation for the 3 years previous decided to all fall at the same time. So it was a very different experience and ended up impacting my harvests, of course. And so I don't know, it was just, there's always something really special about growing your own medicines and dyes. And I think, especially when you are living in the middle of the city and also historically don't have a particularly green thumb, then it can feel very daunting and also feel like maybe it's not even worth trying to get started because you're just not going to have enough space, enough time. It won't be worth it. And this year was really the first year where I was able to determine that nope, that's not true. In fact, we can have a wonderful harvest even if some things flop or even if you need to supplement some things. I think the other really beautiful thing about gardening is the way that it illustrates true abundance versus scarcity and also a community aspect. So, sorry, Willow has a lot of feels at the moment while I'm telling you the story. But that's also part of it, is trying to, in my case, deal with a postage stamp of land, essentially, that I need to share with a very large dog who also needs space to do her thing in the middle of the city. And so in the end, I ended up with a really great harvest of some things and very tiny harvests of other things. My sunflowers, I had one decent head of a sunflower, and that particular head had very few seeds. So I'm going to see if I get any result at all. But it was just not a good year for sunflowers, but was a really great year for Black Knight Scabiosa, despite the fact that normally there's only one, like the first year, you don't really get any blooms from them, which was definitely my experience with Dyer's Chamomile. But I got oodles of those, and they've become my new favorite plant. And then I also was able to harvest or gather harvests from friends, some folks who I was able to buy their excess dye plants from because they didn't need anything extra, and others like these spruce boughs that I turned into a fantastic skirt, and I'm also going to turn into the backdrop fabric for some quilts that focus on a local color palette. But yeah, I don't know. Definitely this year, Black Knight Scabiosa felt like kind of the surprise winner and just the surprise magical new favorite plant. The bees loved it. The number of mornings I would come out to find bees just napping in it or to find them sheltering on the blooms while there was like a massive rainstorm, and then to create like true alchemy where you're getting this incredible purple color or from the dye liquid that then turns into teals, but then also these lovely lavender purples if you add in lemon juice, and also pinks when you add in that lemon juice, and then blues as well. I think there's just something really special about building a fuller relationship with your dyes, and having a little bit more uh, reverence and appreciation for the amount of color that you get and what you do with that color when you're not just purchasing it in bulk from a supplier, whether that supplier is an ethical, sustainable supplier or not. Obviously, we prefer that they are, but even when they are, there's something very different about building a relationship with those plants yourselves. And if you're foraging, then to be, visiting them on a regular basis through a growing season or through multiple growing seasons and seeing how the season changes. So, yeah. Another thing that I've started this year is collecting my dye results in these journals. And so you can see that I'm like writing down what they are and where they're from, and I'm slowly filling out the pages. And these physical books I'm really excited to have, and they're also going to be included digitally in the Color Journal and the Creative Coven community. So I think it's going to be really neat to see each year as I either meet new plants or I don't know, there's something really exciting about seeing how different or the same plants change year over year as the seasons shift on them. I'm also working on some ancestral dye studies, which is currently involving basically recreating traditional Scottish dyes, the book. So I don't know, it's been fun. I hope you can join me.